Hello, everybody. My name is Jessica Green, and I am the artistic director of the Houston Center Arts Festival. Welcome to the post Liborio conversation. You guys are in for a treat. This program is also co-presented by the Houston Latino Film Festival. So shout out to the Houston Latino Film Festival. So yeah, this conversation is going to be with the director of Liborio, and it's going to be moderated by Candice D'Meza, who is a incredible artist and educator and thinker and filmmaker and playwright and mom and just human. So this is going to be a real treat for you all, a real conversation between two amazing artists doing work that really, is in conversation with each other, and there's some overlap in their work. So should be amazing. I'm going to just hand it over to Candice. And thank you for joining us and enjoy the conversation. Thank you so much.
I am so excited. Liborio is an amazing film. It is beautiful and moving and inspired so much rich conversation within me that I think is so prescient at this time. And Nino Martinez Sosa is a Dominican-born filmmaker and editor currently based in Spain. And I can't wait to talk with him. And I'd like for him to introduce himself so he can talk in his own words about how he views his career and how he views his artistry at this moment in time. Nino, hello. Thank you so much.
Thanks to you, Candice, and I'm very glad to be here with you at Houston, showing our film and sharing the film to the audience. Yes.
So would you tell everyone who'll be watching how you define yourself as an artist or filmmaker? What are your prized moments so far in your career, according to yourself?
Well, I began to study a long time ago, far away, because I began in the DR to study in the university. Then I received a scholarship to go to Cuba, to the ACTV, the International School of San Antonio de los Baños. There I graduate from editor. I begin my career as an editor in Spain, in Madrid. And from there, I begin to try to develop my own voice as an editor, but also as a filmmaker. I do a documentary film about the immigration of Dominican immigration in the US. I shoot my grandmother because almost all my father's family lives in New York or New Jersey. So I try to tell the story of my grandmother's immigration. In my first documentary film, it was a medium-length film called Nena's Window. And then I began to search for Liborio, because I was amazed by this character of our history, and I began to do the study and the field research in the communities that are still Liborist in some kind of way. And it took me a lot of time, almost 8 years, to do the film, but luckily we achieved to do it, and right now you can watch it at Houston, right? That's more or less is my career.
Thank you. I always think it's so important how artists define themselves and what their career path has been like. Liborio, now being that I'm of Haitian descent as well, I was really first struck by the fact that these stories of like different liberation movements on the island of Hispaniola, like I had no idea about this story and it being based on a real man. And how did you come to this story? Is this a story that continues to be a well-known story about
no
an actual man who is
popular? No, unluckily, it is getting lost. Liborio works, the story of Liborio works through the myth and orality. and right now it get a little on the over the table in the 60s because there was like a reborn of the movement, and it ends very bad with violence, same as the first one. And that, because of that, because of Palma Sola movement, that was like the second wave of liberalism, uh, a lot of people from the 60s and 70s know the story of Liborio, but there's I think in our history, in the Dominican history, but I think that all the Caribbean is more or less the same. We tend to have like uh, or to try to think that we have only one route, and that route is European, or at least whitish, right?
Mhm.
And so we have a historiography, uh, racist and classist also, right? That only put the focus on the things that are doing like the important people. So Liborio was a farmer, a peasant, was he didn't know to read or to write, right? He was a farmer from near border with Haiti. There is the poorest part of the country, of the Dominican Republic, the south, the Dominican south. And he began like this type of movement with the religion as a vindication of their black, their African descendancy, of their also of their freedom to choose their lives, right? Because all that they decide was all that they do was decide in the capital city, or in the capital of the province in San Juan, and they were in the mountains far away from the decision making towns, right? And he began to do this movement very naive, and because it was like more or less trying to develop a movement without a political or at least a strong political ideology. It was like very simple. The land is for the one who cultivated, and we want to live in peace. So please let us live in peace. It was as simple as that. And I was in love with the character. Of course, it's a mix of a lot of things. It's in a region of our country that it's like the richest region because it's near the border with Haiti. So it's like a point of encounter between
Mhm.
the two countries. There, the border there doesn't exist. I mean, the border, you can watch the border in the map or in the capital in Santo Domingo, but in San Juan de la Maguana, there's no border. People go from one place to the other, and they're like, this is the land, it's not the border, right? So it also speak about a very important moment of our history, that was the first U.S. invasion.
Mhm.
That they also invade Haiti in the 15 and in 1916 invade the Dominican Republic. The whole island was under marine control until 1924, that they left the Dominican Republic. And uh, and I was amazed because the myth was that of the man who transcend life, and it is the hope of the peasant to be like to achieve their goals, even if they have to renounce to life to achieve it, right?
Mm.
It's like watching yourself not as yourself, but as a part of something bigger. That's why religiosity, popular religiosity, works very well as a tool, because that sense, that feeling, that common feeling, the oceanic feeling, serves very well to achieve that, to achieve the sense of community, because it's the sense of community. And yeah, I fell in love with that. And when I went to the places where they believe in Liborio, still today, and I watch them, I live with them, I eat with them, I participate in the rituals. uh, I can't say that I became one of them, because of course I was like foreigner of the land, but they received me with open arms and hug me and show me all that they and speak to me a lot, show me their roads, show me their beliefs, and there I knew that Liborio has to be my first feature film, and that even if it takes me 8 years, as it did, it was like a very very well uh, invest, yeah, of time, right, that you are achieving to tell something that is part of ourselves, that is looking for our identity, not only as a Dominican but as a Caribbean, because I tell once again, the fact that this is near the border of Haiti is very important, because our popular religiosity has to do a lot with Haiti also, right? It's like there's a dialogue between the two countries that is from the beginning, and that it's like trying to rediscover this story that is getting lost right now, and that unluckily it is not told on our history books, story books, yeah, history books, and there's no will to tell this type of story, right? In the I mean, in the elite part of our country, of course, there are a lot of people that wants to know a lot about of Liborio, and when we do the premiere in the DR 2 months ago, there was a lot of movement. People that like the film and people that don't like the film, because they were like expecting a kind of superhero film of Liborio, and we didn't want to make a biopic, right? About it, we want to achieve to see the community as the main character, not Liborio, right?
Yeah.
That's like the because when I begin to write the script, I was only focusing on Liborio and Liborio's life, and it was not a biopic, but more or less. But then I realized that, a teacher of mine, an old teacher of mine, tell me that I have to be inside the story, not from outside. I was looking at the story from the outside, not as I'm a Dominican and African descendant also, but from the outside as an anthropologist or sociologist.
Mm.
Uh, but then I begin to feel then the community, and I knew that the more important thing in Liborism is the community, and that's why Liborio can't die, because there's always someone who will believe in Liborio, and if someone believes in Liborio, Liborio is alive, of course, and that's the approach that we use to go to the character and to the story itself.
There's so much in what you just said, that I'm like, I want to pull the threads of what you just said, but I was really caught because I found myself feeling a bit emotional, as you were talking, in relating to what this story and this film, which is so beautifully done, the coloring of the film, the images, the long shots with the actors, and phenomenal actors, by the way, phenomenal actors. The way that silence was just used, and then you're there with the sounds of the countryside, like really feeling connected to the land, looking at these characters as they live by themselves in the countryside, looking like me, and thinking and really seeing myself in this story, which in some places I love that there was a place where it was the sadness, right? Tearfulness, but then blessed. And I'm really caught by just the approach, like you saying, that the community, because at this moment in time, I think a lot of us looking back have realized that when there's one figurehead of a movement, right? Like one savior or messiah of a political movement or social movement. When that person does die, then these movements tend to die. But when it represents a collective hope, right, for the ability to live freely, just live freely on the land, you know, and just to commune together, work, eat together, live together, that then it lives on. And the idea that at the end, his hand moving, you know, just his hand moving, and then the connection earlier with being told, look for him, believe. Like these movements continue, like not just specifically the man who's Papa Liborio, but these movements of indigenous people and of people of African descent to find a place where they can live at peace. It's such a beautiful film for this time because there needs to be so much. I think especially in the Caribbean, we need to revisit these stories and these oral histories about these figures and see what is there for us still today that we need to use. And so I felt a little, as you were describing all of the pieces, I felt really emotional about it because these are issues that continue, you know, land possession and these class differences, these racial divides in the Caribbean, in the Dominican Republic, in Haiti. And here you have this film that is illustrating beautifully the community hope, a bit of tragedy, but then the continuing of it. Like it didn't end, you know.
Yeah. That was like the main theme was that Liborio is still alive, because the myth is that one. The myth is they say that they killed Liborio, but that's not true because he can't be killed. That's more or less what the last song sing, and it's like a very famous song that one of our merengue rocker singers sing it in the 80s. He made like a song about Liborio, and I knew Liborio because of that song, right? Luis Diaz, El Terror, was the singer, and he made this song that they say that Liborio is killed. They say they killed Liborio, but that's impossible because Liborio can be killed, more or less, right? The story of Marronage and the story of people that want to free themselves from slavery or from modern slavery, because things are, chains are not chains, but more or less that they are still there. The story of Marronage, it's very long in the island. We have the first one, the first African descendant movement against the Spanish. We have it there, and the valley of San Juan de la Maguana, the valley of Maguana. There is this valley where Liborio lived. This has been full of a lot of movements of miscontent and of searching for freedom. First from the Taínos, from the Aborigines of the island, and then from the African descendants. So Liborio it's another part of the movement of the peasantry, of the farmers, of the slaves first, of course, to try to develop a way to control their lives. And I told you once more, it is not based in political ideas, because they weren't they haven't read all these philosophers and political theory, but it was like in the simplest way that they try to achieve their goals, right? And that's what amazed me. And of course, this need is still there. So they are not part of what we try to see as the progressive and development, cultural develop part of the country, right? Part of the country, no, of the people, of the population. And that's why I think that this story was needed to be told, right? That's why I think that it was more important to me, more than try to achieve the goal of tell the story of this mythic man, Messiah. Try to tell about what are the needs and the hopes of these people that are more or less the same right now, 1 century from the assassination of Liborio, right? We have the next year we have 100 years
Yeah.
from the assassination of Liborio, because it was killed, and they say they killed it in 1922. And yeah, it's like all the lines getting together to tell the film, right? And yeah, you talk about the acting. I think as an editor, I have learned a lot about acting. Even if you don't have to speak to the actors and try to move them to to do what you want to do, but you develop an eye to know what you believe and what you don't believe in the acting. And I think the more important thing is that you develop to see the eyes of the actor and try
Mm.
to search the truth there, right? And that's what we try to do with them. And that's, I think that's why we achieve I'm very happy with the acting. And well, in some places they have to tell that we have good actors and I feel very grateful, because that was something I mean, that was like my part of the director part, right? So because in the visual part, I rest a lot in my DP, in Oscar Duran, the director of photography, and of course in all the different areas where we have the head of that department. But in the acting, it was like only me, right? And what we tried to do was to develop an open set, 360, where we can move and try to improvise a lot. I use a lot the simile of the jazz, because in jazz, if you see the cheat, the music cheat of jazz composition, it's only like 12, 16 compasses, only one page, and you can spend 20 minutes playing that one page, right? So you have a very tight structure, uh, but from that structure you can go and from one place to the other. And that's what we try to do in the shooting. We try to we have the script, of course, that was like a very tight structure, and we try to breathe life into it. And I use a lot to improvise and to let the actor and the camera free, so they can feel the scene. And there we arrange where the movement was, but not try to go there with the things in your mind. And when you get to it, you didn't, I mean, you can't put it the way you want, so you force it. No,
Mm.
I try to flow with the, because we have a lot of different type of problems in the shooting. Of course, all shooting have a lot of problems, but we shot. I mean, we were the first feature film that was made in that province, in San Juan de la Maguana. So they weren't like prepared for having a crew of 40 people, a lot of trucks and all that. We have to stay like in 4 or 5 different little hotels that are made most for the cooperation people that go to work in the border and in the zone, right? So we were there like open the road, and we have a lot of weather problem also. Each
Mm.
day we have rainy days, and we have to walk a lot to go to the places, to a lot of places, because I mean, you can see it in the film. We shoot in places, very special places, but they were far away from the roads. We have to walk in the horses and all that. But I think that all the sacrifices, I mean, I think you can feel a little of that in the film, but I think that everything pays off very well with the film that we have, and luckily we can share it, because at the beginning of the pandemic era, I believe that Liborio was going to stay with me and my family and my friends, and only that, because I mean all that effort, and because the theaters were closed, festivals
Yeah.
were canceling, and all that, and I thought, well, this is not going to work. This is, I mean, Liborio is not going to anywhere. But luckily we have our premiere in Rotterdam, and that opens up a lot of doors, and they treat us very well, and I'm very glad with the path that the film is transiting, yeah. And yeah, I'm happy. As you can see, I'm very happy with the film, and I think that even if it's full of mistakes, because it is. I mean, mistakes, that things that you want to achieve that you didn't get to achieve it the way you wanted. It is, of course, in all process you can find that type of things, but even if it has that, I think I didn't I if I have to change it now, I no, of course not, because it is what it is, and I think it represents very well the effort and the goal that we put when we begin the journey.
I know it's hard as an artist. You've spent so much time crafting the vision for this that only you really will know how it compares to what was in your mind. But definitely on the outside, it is it is a beautifully moving piece of work. I really continued success to this film and to you and your entire team, and I hope it goes far because it's beautiful and it's important. And it's important without I feel like some of the like films that come out of major production houses when they deal with themes like this, they're hitting you on the head with a particular message. And this one leaves so much of it to be explored by you as the person just by going through the stories of all of these different characters and their connections. I'm really interested, especially as an actor who did a lot of acting and then switched to producing and filmmaking. What is that process like for you in terms of how you're getting what you need out of the actors? Like you talked about, you try to keep it open, right? Like having the open space to follow and allow the actors to kind of do it. Is there I'm interested if there's a particular moment in the film where you created the space for it to be open and what you received was more than what you expected.
Yes, I mean, first, when I spent a lot of time doing the casting,
Mm,
because I think, and I do it myself. I mean, we have a casting director, and she was, of course, helping and controlling all. but I was there myself, speaking with the actors, trying to look for the way that they can uh, be liquid. I mean, to fluid, to have to move from where they are to move to another place, right? How well you can be moved, and that was like one of the things that I have in mind when I do the casting. Then we begin in the rehearsal. We didn't rehearse the script. What we do were more like games, like theater games, to know each other, to get physically, to touch ourselves, and to try to develop trust, and to smell, to have this thing that the theater has, and the film not necessarily, that you can like feel the sweat of your companion, right? And uh, and there, this dynamics of the rehearsal was ruled by Liborio, by Vicente Santos, the actor who did Liborio, and I was like more or less one more. He was like the ruling father, the Papa Liborio, with the community, and I was there like one more. Of course, I do the same with him first, and then we talk about the dynamics, and I think that helped me a lot to develop this sense of trust, because if the actor or actress trust you, I think they can give you more. They can get out of their comfort zone, and risk themselves, right?
Mhm.
And that's where you have the meat, right? And we do that, and then when we get to the set, and begin the shooting, it was easier, because they knew that I didn't want a film of a normal film, to speak it in some way, because I tell them that that we always are going to be with the camera in the actor or actress, that in the character that has the narrative at that point. So they have to give me everything, uh, always. That was like the thing. Don't wait for your shot, because your shot is not going to come. You have to give it to me always in
Mm.
this shot, even if we're not seeing you, right? So we work that, and I also work. Uh, there's a Russian theoretician, film theoric, in the of the at the beginning of the film, right? I think the 20s or something like that. Ziga Vertov, no, sorry, Lev Kuleshov. Kuleshov has an experiment that was a shot of an actor, like very very flat, with no intention on it, and he edit this the same shot with three different images. I think Hitchcock made the same later in the 60s, and the same actor doing the same acting was very different if you put a baby, or if you put a soup, or if you put the coffin of with a corpse in it, right? It was a very very different acting, and it was the same, but he made this experiment to tell that the acting in the film, it ends in the editing room, right?
Oh, wow.
Conform in the editing, because you as an actor can do whatever you want, but it depends on where you came and where you go, uh, uh, of your acting, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
I show them that, and we speak a lot about the eyes, the gaze, and to maintain the gaze, because I want to do this long silence, and not because I like, but because I think that that's the way we lived in the Caribbean. That the time has like a different texture, no, right? Like a different
Mhm.
dimension, and we work a lot the silent and the gaze, And when they overact, or I feel it was overacting, I only tell them Kulechov, Kulechov, and they get down because they knew that I was telling, even if you don't act, if you don't do anything, we can get you to act because of the editing, right?
Wow, wow, wow. Yeah. I've
So
never thought about that before. Like the idea of, even as an actor, that the acting itself is collaborative, because in the editing and the directing, mostly you know about the directing, that your ability to really give a good performance is related to a good director who's able to kind of really mold that, in you, and see and pull it. And never thought about also being able to, as an actor, rely on the editor to help get it where it needs to go, that you're not carrying that by yourself. I've never thought of that before.
yeah, but it is like that. Yeah, I mean the acting ends there. The silence, that what you do in the editing, it's like to conform all the elements, of course. But I think that one of the most important things that the editor do is to make the acting act, because prior to the editing, they are only shots, but then you have a scene. Yeah, well conformed. So that's what we do. But I think that as a director, you have to be. I mean, I try to be very open to everybody, not only to the actors, but also to everybody in the set. Everybody who was there can tell what they think, and I was listening. Uh, Not accepting, of course, because I have also my criteria, right? But listening and trying to convey all the different angles, forces, ideas that were in the process. I think that's part of the work, to direct not only the film, but also the people that are building, that are making the film, right?
Mhm.
And to hear these people and to give them trust, and to let them know that you care for what they think. I think that get the people more involved in the process, and they can give you more, of course. And that's what, as a director, that's what you want, that you give me everything that you have, or that you can, of course. And yeah, that was my approach. And I was very lucky to have a very, very, very good crew and cast. And we're still together. We are still today together, because we keep a WhatsApp chat. And right now that there was the Dominican premiere, one of the our department ladies was in Spain, and he can go, and he said, well, it's a pity I can go. And we made a collect to buy her the ticket, and she was at the premiere with everybody. So it's like that type of stuff that speak about the community that
Yes.
we try to build. We're telling this story, but let's try to live it like we're telling it, right? And yeah, I think that's important. And what you said, more films, a lot of films, like common films, big budget films, try to tell you the message and to underline it. Yeah, I think that art and cinema, it's more to raise questions than to ask question, right? Or to raise it than to answer it, right? So Liborio, to me, it's more like I'm asking question more than trying to answer it. Of course, I'm looking for the answer in the process, and I think that at least a couple of answers you can get from the film.
Mhm.
But I think there to complex problems, you can have a simple message to
Yes.
to solve it, right? you
Yes.
you have to try to be more subtle, more, yeah, to approach it with different angles, and to try not to be part of the problem yourself. Like, we never try to tell the story of Liborio as the truth, or like this monolithic type of story, because we're against it. And that type of story, monolithic, root, it's what have been hiding Liborio for a century, right?
Yeah.
So we're against it, and that's why we didn't do a film, well, with a very, very uh, express message. Or, but I think that it's like very easy to understand the film, and to share with these people a little, at least a little, of their life, of their way of life, of their way of thinking, and of that history, of that part of history of ourselves, of Caribbean, but also of the U.S., because the
Mm.
U.S. was involved, of course, in the story, very, very very much involved, right? And yeah, I think it's important that you can show it also there in Houston. We try to get to the more audiences that we can, of course. But in the US, I think, in the Caribbean and in the US, I think it's the part where I'm more happy that it is shown, right? Because I think that it speak about ourselves.
I definitely think the US, especially Houston in particular, because of there seems to be a new conversation that some people weren't having before about how the Caribbean, right, especially like the island of Hispaniola, immigration, um, the US's role in the way that some things have played out in the Caribbean, until they saw the images of Haitian migrants and other migrants as well, right? It wasn't just Haitian, but that got amplified, especially in Del Rio, Texas. People hadn't really considered how the US's intervention in other places, and how the US treats immigrants, and how the US treats people on their own in these other colonies in the Caribbean. And I think this film I think this film is great at this time, especially for people to really start to, with themselves, start a conversation with themselves about so many of the themes of this film. And it's great because it is, number one, it's so visually beautiful. Um, the way that the dialogue functions is so beautiful because it's always just enough. It's not too much talking, it's just enough. I like what you said about the texture of time,
Hmm.
'cause it gives you that feeling, the silences, it doesn't feel empty. The silence is very rich. When people are living closer to the land, there's not the same need for the busyness and the endless talking and the acting, and you said, like, the eyes and it being just enough. It was beautifully crafted, and as we're kind of closing, oh man, I didn't even get to the okay. Well, I have to be okay with me not getting to all the parts I wanted to talk about. But in closing, do you have any particular hope for Caribbean filmmakers and Caribbean cinema at this time?
Yeah, I think we're living right now a wonderful time, because there are a lot of things happening in the Caribbean. At least in the Dominican Republic, we have this film law that it's moving a lot. We're making one different special movie at least a year.
Oh, wow.
There was a Haitian film in Cannes, in Certain Regard, this year. We have a lot of movement in the little islands. so we have, I think that we are right now living, Puerto Rico is also making some big films. So I think that we're living a wonderful time to be a filmmaker there. Of course, I think that the films that try to look at our identity and the way that we are, well, that's what I'm looking as a filmmaker, as an artist. So that's what's like, that those are the ones that I'm like looking for, and those are coming. So I think yeah, we're good. We're good in the Caribbean right now.
I love that. Thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you so much, not just for the art itself, but for sharing your vision around it, your vision around how you created the story around this man and the community. And then your vision about community, not just in the film, but as a filmmaker, creating a community with the actors, with themselves, and creating a community with the cast and the crew, a community that lives on, um, is a powerful model for approaching art and filmmaking as collaborative beyond just a project, right? Like really building the trust beyond beyond. Um, and I think at this point in time, it's great to see examples and models of how that is done um, by filmmakers today. And I'm really excited for Houston to see this and for the continued success of this film. Would you tell everyone where they can support the film continuously, or where they can continue to follow you and support your work?
Yeah, we have a web page, and I have my Instagram and Facebook. I'm not a man of social media. I prefer to, I mean, the things that I have to say, I prefer to say it in films. But you can, of course, follow the film on Instagram. You can follow the film on Facebook and myself. And even if I don't post all the days, you can at least watch where the film it's going, where it's going to be shown, and yeah, the things that we people have in mind sometimes. But thank you very much for the talk, Candice, and Houston, to get our film and to watch it, and I hope enjoy it and experience it.
Great, thank you. And on Instagram, it would be Liborio. It would be at Liborio Film.
Yeah.
Good. And then on Instagram, it would be at Nino Martinez Sosa.
Yeah, that's right.
Great. Awesome. So I hope everybody goes to follow the film, and they follow you as well, just to see whenever you occasionally post about anything new you're doing. But I really hope people continue to follow the life of this film and share it and support it. And thank you so much for this conversation, Nino.
Yeah, thanks to you.